Good afternoon, everyone. This is John Ravitz, the Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer for the Business Council of Westchester. Wishing and hoping that all of you and your families and your employees are safe as we continue to navigate through this pandemic. The Business Council of Westchester is very pleased that we are able to present our next series in our Business Resource Center webinar. Before I introduce the panelists, and we want to make sure that everyone continues to know about the upcoming events that we will be having at the Business Council of Westchester. Tomorrow, as part of our Anti-Racism Resource Center, we will be having our first webinar at 11 a.m. The title of the webinar will be Unconscious Bias. We urge that you and your employees tune into that webinar, and you can register by going to our website at the bcw.org. On July 14th, we will have our live stream Business Hall of Fame event starting at 5 o'clock. And then our summer soiree virtual event will be held on July 21st at 4:30. Hoping all of you can attend that as well. Today's topic is an important one, and it is the Earth Kind Energy, Clean Energy series. This will be a series that will be going on through mid-August. Today, we're going to discuss what you might not know about how to save money with clean energy. Westchester's energy landscape and the issues that all of us are going to face due to that has been a top priority and will continue to be a top priority of the Business Council of Westchester as we continue to make sure that the business community understands what that landscape is going to look like, what opportunities that they are going to be able to have in terms of not only becoming more sustainable, hopefully saving money, using the renewable tools that will be out there, but also we're going to continue to raise our concerns, that we make sure that we're doing everything possible to not have any gaps in service of power once January 1st comes around and Indian Point has closed. So today is an important day because we begin to, again, push out important information with a panel of experts on that. And I want to first thank our sponsors, Earth Kind Energy, and our co-sponsor, Atlantic Westchester, NYSERDA, Sunrise Solar. We've worked with all of these organizations in the past. They are all leaders in this industry of renewables and the future energy landscape of Westchester County. So it's important that they be with us today. And I want to do a special thank you to Ron Kamen of Earth Kind Energy for his leadership, for his coordination in putting this series that, as I said, will be going through mid-August for the business community in Westchester County. And Ron, I'm going to turn it over to you. I do want to introduce our panel. First, Bud Hammer, who is the president of Atlantic Westchester. Kathy Hoffman, who is the maintenance sales specialist at Atlantic Westchester. Scott Smith, the program manager at NYSERDA. Zach Fink, the president of ZBF Geothermal. Dave Hermantain, the vice president of Brightcore Energy. And Doug Hertz, the principal of Sunrise Solar. So I'm going to turn it over now to our moderator, Ron Kamen, who is the founder and CEO of Clean Energy, he's thought leader in Earth Kind Energy Consulting. And Ron, really thank you for the work that you've done to put this series of events together for the business community.
And thank you, John, so much. Thank you to the BCW for all your leadership, your incredible activity. You know, I want to thank you, Marcia, everyone else, for this opportunity and for all your tremendous work. I've worked for 3 decades with business councils and chambers across the United States, and I can truthfully say to everybody who's on this call that of all those business councils, this one by far is light years ahead in terms of the dedication, the commitment, the effectiveness, the support of its members, its activity, its engagement. And if you are living, working, or doing business or plan to do business in Westchester, I urge all of you to join the Business Council as a member. It's going to be one of the best investments that I believe you've ever made. So thank you, John. Thank you, Business Council. So this is one of a series. This is the first every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon for the next actually 5 more Wednesdays, we'll be running different sessions. We'll be reviewing the schedule. Today is an overview of all the technologies and the opportunities to save money and to start accessing the ability to save yourselves a tremendous amount of money while having a very positive impact on the environment. Next Wednesday will be air source heating and cooling technologies that help you deal with the gas moratorium. We'll be diving in depth into that next week. The week after is geothermal. We'll be doing that the week after, the week of the 22nd. The 29th will be solar and battery storage and how you can access those opportunities. Electric vehicles on August 5th. And then on the 12th will be clean energy investing with ESG, environmental, sustainability, social, and governance issues. So thank you, everybody. Thank you especially to the sponsors. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Just real quickly, we will be covering today, if I can get this to work, there we go. Collectively, we're spending $61 billion a year on energy, and that's both electricity, thermal for heating and cooling our buildings, as well as transportation fuels. So the question for you is, how much is your piece of that, and what can you do to do that? But first, before we start, I'd like to ask you all to please, if you would, in 2 seconds, I'm going to sound a little chime. I'd like you all to take a deep breath and just hold it for 20 seconds in memory of all those who took their last breath in 2020. Thank you very much. We've all had a wake-up call about how fragile all our lives are. And one of the most critical things I hope we all come to realize is that our planet, our Earth, our communities are all tremendously interconnected. And what we do as humans has a tremendous effect on everyone around us. And all those we love, all those we know, everyone that's on this planet right now is facing a number of existential crises. The first is with the pandemic, but then when you take a look at the numbers, what you find is that of all the greenhouse gases we've been emitting, most of that comes from the energy we use. It's the core of civilization. Energy is at the key to our survival in our buildings, in our homes, in our workplaces. It's how we power everything from our computers and our laptops through all the different equipment in our homes and offices and workplaces, and the power that we have for manufacturing. And it's also how we get around, all our transportation systems. And at the center of the environmental issues we're facing, health issues we're facing, economic and social justice issues, all of that is energy. And clean energy is the key to us overcoming a lot of issues that are currently affecting society in terms of health, environment, and jobs. One of the things I'd like to ask you to keep in mind as you go through this is, how much are you spending for electricity, heating, and gasoline and transportation? And think about that, because at the end of this webinar today, there's going to be an opportunity for you to access up to $10,000 worth of value in a sweepstakes that you'll hear about at the end of the webinar. But for now, I'd like to turn it over to the air specialist at Atlantic Westchester. They are a family-owned business in Bedford Hills. They've been around since 1961, almost 60 years. They provide preventive maintenance, remediation, installation, and energy-efficient solutions to commercial and industrial businesses and nonprofits all throughout the area. They've won awards from the Green Business Partnership, from the Business Council, from West Fair Communications. They're a tremendous organization. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bud and Kathy.
Well, thank you, Ron. I appreciate that introduction. And yeah, it's kind of a sobering introduction as far as what the reality in the world is right now. I'm going to ask Kathy to take the first part of this and kind of talking about low-hanging fruit of existing HVAC systems that are in buildings right now, and things that can be done to improve their performance. Kathy?
So thanks, Bud. Thank you, Ron, for inviting us to co-sponsor, and thank you, BCW, for hosting this series. So I'm here to speak about preventive maintenance. Why are we speaking about preventive maintenance on a clean energy webinar when there's this really cool energy efficiency technology available? Well, because heating and cooling is the single largest energy expense building owners. It makes up about 40% of their energy expense. So of that 40% of their energy expense, 30% of it, according to the EPA, is used inefficiently or unnecessarily. So as I pointed out on my slide here, according to Energy Star, building owners, they can save between 5 to 30% just by doing basic maintenance or preventive maintenance of a building. So a couple other really cool facts. Sorry to throw all the facts at you, but if a building owner can decrease his energy usage by 10%, that could equate to 1.5% additional to his net income on his bottom line. And for every dollar that a building owner defers maintenance, it's going to cost him $4 in future costs, whether it be increased energy usage, repairs to the system, replacement system, lost productivity, but that's a lot of money. So it only makes sense to do preventive maintenance. A lot of people aren't familiar with preventive maintenance for their HVAC equipment, so I'd like to use a little analogy. I can't see all of you because we're in the mode, but I'm sure that some of you own a car, not lease or rent a car, because you may treat it a little differently if you own or lease a car. But if you lease or rent a car, but if you own a car, you take care of it. You have scheduled service. Why do you do that? Well, you do it for multiple reasons. One, because you want it to run more efficiently. You're gonna change the filters, your oil filters, your air filters. You're gonna rotate your tire. You're gonna put air in it. You're gonna change your spark plugs. You're gonna have a technician look it over it during your scheduled maintenance every 60,000 miles or so to make sure that things are running correctly and that you're not going to break down in the middle of summer when your family's on a road trip on the hottest day of the year. You want to make sure it doesn't break down. Or if you're on your way to your life-changing meeting, you want to make sure you're getting there in a reliable car. So let's bring that same philosophy back to your building. You have your HVAC equipment. The only difference between the car and the HVAC equipment, well, there's a few. One is your HVAC equipment probably costs more than your car. And two, you can't see your HVAC equipment. It's usually on the roof, behind your building, in your ceiling, or in a mechanical room. So I think it's funny that some people have pictures of their car in their office hanging on the wall. Why don't you have a picture of your cooling tower, your chiller, so you can remind yourself to do preventive maintenance? It only makes sense. So like the mechanic, you're gonna call in a professional technician, and they're going to visually inspect, and they're going to lubricate all your moving parts. They're going to change your filters in your belts. They're going to clean the coils, make sure there's no dirt and debris clogging up it, so that it's operating optimally, and you're going to avoid future breakdowns, and it's going to last a lot longer. So it makes a lot of sense. And to bring it back to my slide, which Ron changed pictures of, if a building owner has a preventive maintenance from a reliable company, they can get back those savings that I indicated earlier. So that's my 2 cents on preventative maintenance. Thank you. I guess if there's any questions, you can put them in the text box and we'll be addressing them. And now I want to turn it over to Bud, who can speak about some of that really cool technology that's out there. And this is for, I think he's going to speak for indoor air quality.
Yeah, so thank you, Kathy. So yeah, taking care of a building HVAC system is good because you want it to perform as close to the first day that it was started up as you can get. It's going to degrade over time, so the better it's taken care of, the better it's going to take care of you and your building occupants. Once you have that under control, with this whole COVID thing, and the question recently is, can COVID be transmitted through an air supply system in a building or a ventilation system? While there's some debate going on, the World Health Organization just came out with a report that 239 scientists all agree that it can be transmitted through the air inside of a building. So that has shined a gigantic spotlight on our industry and has made people think about what is in the air that they're breathing. There's been pollution inside of buildings for a long time. If you think about having issues, if you have sensitivities to allergies or dust or mold or something like that. You go from building to building. Sometimes some of those things are more irritable than others. It has something to do with the air that you're breathing and the particulate matter that's in that air, whether you're aware of it or not. Most times you can't see it. So as a result, there's been an advancement in technology that's actually been around for a while, but it's come to the forefront where people are now kind of paying attention and asking a lot of questions. One thing that we are recommending to clients that want to take their systems to the next step is by adding some devices to their existing HVAC systems that can actually go out and silently kind of attack what's in that air, from particulate matter to mold spores to pathogens to other things that may be bacterial in their nature. And this technology is called needle point bipolar ionization. The beauty about it is the side effects are very positive, where the occupants won't really notice anything except the air may seem a little crisper, a little fresher, and the side effect is it's going to help keep their systems cleaner because it's killing stuff that may grow as a form of bacteria, whether it's mold or biofilm on their coils and whatnot. So just a quick introduction. There's also UV lighting that is effective of killing stuff that wherever the lighting is shining, but there are some limitations to that. And not that we're trying to put the fear of going into a building in anybody, but it's just something to think about and pay attention to. And of course, there's ways in which you can test your air. So for what it's worth, it's just something to kind of add to the checklist as people are starting to re-enter buildings. And there are some energy efficiency benefits as well. So this is part of a good strategy to save energy being consumed in an HVAC system.
Thanks so much, Bud. So, folks, the needle point bipolar ionization is an air technology that can be installed in your venting systems. It's part of or separate from heat pumps. And a heat pump, an air conditioner is a heat pump. Your refrigerator is a heat pump. Those are called air source heat pumps. And in particular, Atlantic Westchester specializes in looking at those heat pumps and how you can now not just cool your air with air source heat pumps, but how you can also use that same technology, reverse the valves and the flows, and use that technology to heat your space as well. So that heating and cooling are air source heat pumps, and that's a great technology. When you take that technology and you combine it with the heat from the ground with ground source heat pumps or geothermal, that's now our next series of presenters. If you would take it away, Dave and Zach.
Hi, so I'm Zachary Fink with ZBF Geothermal, and we also have Dave Hermanton with Brightcore, and we're going to talk about geothermal. So Dave, if you just want to go, sorry, Ron, if you want to go to the next slide. So some just quick introductions. I'm the owner of ZBF Geothermal. We work on design build projects and consulting projects, ranging from 1,200 square foot houses to 150 unit apartment buildings. Going up, Ron, the previous slides, okay, there you go. And I've been doing geothermal for 12 years, but one of the cool things is my grandfather started in the industry converting people from coal to oil. And then when I started working for my uncle, he was doing oil to gas and then gas to geothermal. So I've kind of seen this whole cycle go, you know, from coal to oil to gas and now to electrification. And just kind of cool being in the industry and being able to see that. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dave.
Hi, as Zach mentioned, my name is Dave Hermanton. I work with Brightcore Energy, and Zach and I go back quite a bit. We've been working on common projects in the same industry for, I think, a little over 10 years now. I've been designing geosystems for almost 20 years now, and this series is really exciting for me. At Brightcore, our geothermal group is really excited to offer something that is special and unique in the New York area, and particularly in Westchester. We have a Geo as a Service offering, which what we do on new builds and also retrofits is install geothermal systems at no cost to the developer or building owner. We provide geo as a service. We charge you on a monthly basis for periods up to 25 to 30 years. And you're able to reap the benefits of not only all the benefits of heat pumps and geothermal heat pumps, but also Con Ed incentives. The incentives for geothermal in the Westchester area or the Con Ed area are the best in the country. So we're excited to talk to people about how we utilize innovative technology. It's not your grandfather's geothermal. A lot of the things that I've heard from people in Westchester when they were faced with the gas moratorium about geothermal doesn't work, geothermal is a big mess. A lot of those things have changed. So we'd like to talk to you more about it, and we're excited about talking on our presentation that's upcoming in the series. Ron?
Thank you so much there, gentlemen. Sorry for a second here. So just real quickly, tell us about this project real quickly, Dave, if you would.
Oh, yeah, this geothermal world was kind of like the big Megillah. I was one of the design engineers. I was fortunate enough to work on the St. Patrick's renovation project. And we really like to say that, if you think that your building can't be converted to geothermal, we like to say we can convert you, quite literally. Actually, there's a picture on the right-hand side with the Pope arriving at the cathedral, and the guys on the right-hand side with the fluorescent vests were us. So we feel that, hopefully this system is blessed, and so are all the systems that we'll be installing in the New York area.
Thanks, Dave. So next week, we'll be diving into air source heat pumps, and in particular having Murphy Brothers, who has a 40,000 square foot facility that they're using for air source heat pumps with solar. That costs them, for that 40,000 square foot facility, $1,500 a month for all the heating, cooling, and air conditioning. This project that we'll also be talking about the week after with L&M, Zach, do you want to just describe a little bit about this one and what happens here?
Yeah, so this was an exciting project for us to work on, where it was the first affordable passive housing project in New York City being built with geothermal. At the time that it started construction, it was the largest passive housing project going up that was affordable in America. And their total heating and cooling cost over the course of a year, it's a little over 120,000 square feet, 120 apartments, is about $20,000 a year. People that know cost of operation, you typically say it's $1 a square foot for New York City. So this building would be $100,000 to $125,000 a year to otherwise operate. And one of the really cool things is, because it's affordable housing, they are able to charge a $10 a month access fee for apartments to access cooling versus $150 a month in one of their standard buildings. So it was just an exciting project to work on from a personal level. And with this developer, we're doing 3 more projects with, center of Brooklyn, no land around it, and we're drilling 195 holes under the building. Then that's currently under construction. So.
Great. Thank you so much, Zach. So folks, please get this, it's an amazing concept that when you combine solar technology with geothermal heating and cooling, what happens is you have the least cost option for not just your electricity, but for your heating and cooling as well. It's cheaper than natural gas. It's cheaper than any sort of air conditioning. It provides a tremendous benefit. And the fact that I was amazed by is that you can now go under the footprint of a building straight down with the standard New York State rules, and that 500 feet down of that square footage under that building can support heating, cooling, and hot water for up to a 30-story building. And we're going to talk about that again in 2 weeks when we dive into the geothermal technologies. But for now, we're going to move on to solar energy and Doug Hertz.
I guess I need to unmute myself. Ron, thank you very much. And thank you for everyone, Business Council, for putting this on. So I'm the president of Sunrise Solar. And really the question, you guys may ask is, is solar right for me? Who's done it? So who's gone solar? We have customers from every sort of walk of life, from every type of business and entity, but apartment buildings, a medical office, Sleepy Hollow Country Club, an old line country club. Next, please. We're working with temples and churches throughout the area. They're perfect places to do this. And the system on the bottom is the largest. This is a co-op. It's the largest residential system system for a residential community in Westchester County. This is over in Ossining. So it really works for this very large range of people and entities. And really the question you have to ask yourself is, does solar work for me? What are the issues there? So next, please. So if you could just jump back one, Ron. So it's really a question of, do we have enough roof space, or do we have an area that would work for installing solar? We typically are looking for buildings that are wider than they are tall. So you don't see a lot of solar in Manhattan where you have skyscrapers, because everything is stacked up vertically, if you will. We have very little roof space compared to the amount of living space that's generating that electrical need. So we're looking for buildings ideally less than 6 stories tall. But there are plenty of other alternatives. We're starting to do carports over parking lots or over garage tops. So even if you have a structured parking system, we can put a solar system over the upper floor there. And even though Westchester does not have a ton of land, we certainly do ground mounts. Those typically happen a little farther upstate where land is a little bit more plentiful, but we're doing multi-megawatt ground mounts in Westchester County at the moment. So why does this work? Well, it works because Con Ed is the most expensive utility on the continental US. Just jump out, let's stay at incentives. So we're offsetting this very, very expensive electricity, and you all know that because you pay your bills and you see what those things look like. And there are incredible incentives to be able to work on that. So right now we have federal tax incentives. Through 2023, we're in 100% bonus depreciation years, which means you can expense the entire system in year 1. New York State incentives include very large upfront incentives from NYSERDA. The systems are exempt from sales tax. And this is one of the few things that you can do to your property to increase the value of the property that does not increase your taxes. So it's exempt from New York State property tax. And if you're in New York City or one of the 5 boroughs, there's also an additional property tax abatement program that you can avail yourselves of. So all in all, these things can mean something on the order of 50 to 70% of the system costs or more at times that are borne by incentives. So, your $100,000 system may cost you $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 at the end of the day or less. So there's a whole bunch of different ways we can approach this. So we have plenty of customers who want to own it themselves. So, build, own, and operate. You get the highest return because of these great incentives. And there are lots of financing options, from PACE financing through to private, through to your own bank. There are a lot of solar specialty lenders and lots of options there. There are companies also that do alternative approaches. So a power purchase agreement called a PPA, or an operating lease, where a third party will own and operate the system on your roof, but sell you the energy. And it's a great way to it's a great hybrid between owning it yourself, but not everyone has the tax appetite to be able to do that. And then the simplest approach, and the approach that we're seeing more and more, is simply leasing your roof to a third party developer. So there are companies like ours who will come in happy to, if the roof is large enough, we're basically just going to become a tenant on your roof. We're going to build a system up there, and that thing, your roof, which was formerly just this kind of nuisance object, this thing that cost you money, all it did was leak and keep the snow and rain out. Now you have a tenant up there who's paying you to keep that roof up, giving you revenue off that roof. So it's a really nice, absolutely sort of zero risk way to go. And the advantage also is that you get huge marketing benefits because you're going to be hosting a community solar system, which has environmental justice aspects and has really been welcomed by all the municipalities in Westchester. So you get these sort of great ancillary marketing advantages for simply leasing your roof to a third party. So that's a primer on what we're doing. That's the basic approach here, and we'll be diving into that in much more depth on the solar program coming on in a couple of weeks. So I look forward to having you all. If you're interested, come join us there, and we'll be able to spend a lot more time digging in more depth. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you so much, Doug. So, folks, as part of the announcement about this, I just want to give a shout out to the Diamond Group, who years ago actually installed 7 million watts, 7 megawatts worth of solar on their properties. And I believe that we're starting to see now a number of property owners realizing that not only does this good for the environment, not only is it good for publicity, but in addition, it's a way to generate additional revenue. And as Doug says, there's multiple ways of doing it. You can build, you can own, you can lease it, you can lease your roof to a developer. But basically, if you have some space and you have the right opportunity, you can both have a tremendous impact on the environment and save yourselves or make yourself a lot of money. And one of the things that's always out there is, okay, well, how much energy, clean energy really is it, and how is it going to compete against gas or oil or coal or nuclear or everything else? And if you want an excellent primer and an animation, it'll take you 2 minutes to take a look at. The scientists at SUNY Atmospheric Research Center put together a little comparison about all the energy sources in the world. You can find it here on earthkindenergy.com, how much energy is left. Just take a look. It's a 2-minute piece. It'll just give you some idea about the opportunity. And the thing that gives me a lot of hope is when you take a look at Westchester. Westchester is one of the leaders in all these technologies, and especially in solar. There's over 3,000 solar installations that are happening. When you take a look around, if you look closely, you'll see them around. And now you're going to see more and more developers, more and more people taking advantage of these community solar and other opportunities. And that also lets you take advantage of solar and the discounts. Even if you can't host solar on your property, you can still participate in a community solar project and save money. And in back of all this, now we have what's the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. So whether you think it's a good idea, whether you want to make money or not, the reality of New York State legislation now, it is the law that we will be reducing our greenhouse gases 40% by 2030, 85% by 2050. We're going to do it partially by increasing the amount of renewables from 25% or so today, 70% by very soon, and 100% by 2040. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Scott Smith from NYSERDA, the main entity in back of $5 billion worth of clean energy funding that makes this all happen for you, me, and everyone else. Scott.
Thanks, Ron. There's a couple of questions in the chat, and I don't know if maybe someone wants to answer those in the chat, or if you want to read them out now or take them after. Just wanted to point that out.
Go, Scott. We'll deal with it in a little bit if that's okay. So thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So what I think I'm asked to do today is kind of bring this all together and kind of talk about it in that policy context that Ron just teed up, and really, like the rest of the speakers, sort of reinforce why you want to come to the next 5 webinars to learn more. So as Ron said, we're going to be 100% clean electricity in 2040. One of the things that Business Council members, Business Council of Westchester members have asked a lot over the last year of us is, what's the plan? And I'll go over the high level plan and then say that there is a more detailed plan in the works. The high level plan is we're going to make electricity carbon free, right? And then we're going to electrify transportation and electrify heating and cooling of buildings. And that's how we're going to get to our 85% carbon reduction. Next slide. As Ron's mentioned, this is all in the context of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. Here are the numbers. I'm not going to walk through them all, but there are obviously big goals, and we need to work with all of you to achieve them. I mentioned that there is a broader plan under development. That plan is being developed by the Climate Action Council. And if you click on this link after the presentation and want to learn more about the Climate Action Council and its recent activities, there was a meeting in June, and that'll give you a much better feel for the plan, how it's going to be developed, what the stakeholder involvement is going to be. There are going to be stakeholder groups and advisory groups that are pulled together around all of these important topics. And one of the things that Ron mentioned I wanted to reinforce is there's $5 billion available from a combination of NYSERDA and the New York State utilities to make all this happen, and more money will be coming later because that's not enough money to get us where we need to go. To sort of part of how we're going to get to this carbon neutral grid is through solar and storage. We're also going to do, on-site wind and other large scale renewables. We have a New York Sun program that's been operating for the last couple of years with a lot of success. Since 2012, over 1,000%, almost 2,000% increase in the deployment of solar. We're going to get to 6,000 megawatts of distributed solar by 2025, and we have over $1 billion to do it. The other thing that we need to work on, and I guess I'm not going to mention storage, Ron, but the other thing we need to work on is electrification of buildings. Now you can switch, it's fine. So 32% of the carbon emissions, as Ron showed earlier, are coming from the heating and cooling of buildings. If you look forward to the end state in 2050, there will be virtually no buildings in New York State that are heated and cooled by fossil fuels in order to get to that 85% reduction. That 15% of carbon will be used for some central station generation and some industrial process industrial process use that we're not going to be able to electrify. So there's actually $500 million available over the next 5 years from utilities to do air source and ground source heat pumps. And as a couple of the other speakers have mentioned, we're going to learn a lot more about those in the next 2 webinars, the next 2 Wednesdays. And then following that, we're going to talk about transportation. So transportation is actually the largest source of emissions in New York State. We're going to go to a significant penetration of zero emission vehicles over the next 30 years. We're going to do a lot of charging stations. We're going to reduce vehicle miles traveled. And there's another over $500 million, close to over $500 million of funding currently available to do this work, and there's going to be more coming. So come and learn how you can access that funding. We want to make sure that you get those incentives in Westchester. We want to help you reduce your costs, and we want to help you future-proof your buildings, because the DEC is going to be setting emissions limits on the economy and on buildings. New York City's already set some of those limits. And you can get ahead of all that and save money at the same time. Ron.
Thank you so much, Scott. That was excellent. So we're going to be diving into the incentives over the next 5 webinars, folks. So if you're in particular interested in any of these, we're going to have contacts at the end of this for everybody. And just to summarize some of the information that Scott just did, $570 million available for electricity, another 400, almost $500 million for clean heating and cooling, and over that for clean electricity. All right, and one of the things you should keep in mind is that in addition to everything that we just heard, there's ways to do this if you have capital and if you can access the tax credits. It's 10 to 30% return on your investment possible or better. And then there's also ways of doing this with no cash down, as Doug had said, and just various different ways of making this happen with no cash down, 0 capital outlay, and then just start saving money from day one. One of the things that is available for everyone who's now stuck around is that we are announcing today a consulting sweepstake where everybody who's participating in this webinar will have 1 chance today and 1 chance for every webinar to win an expert energy assessment and consulting value up to $10,000. It's only available to people who are on this clean energy series. The activity will strive to find 10 to 30% energy cost reductions, 10 to 35% energy cost reductions for you and your facilities or your home or your workplace or wherever you are, and create a customized, clear path to 100% clean energy for you. This is a hidden web page. It's not available to anyone else, so it's basically earthkindenergy.com. You can't find it on a search. You have to type in earthkindenergy.com/sweepstakes, and at the end of the series we'll be announcing the winner, and then the winner will take advantage. You can be large, small. Obviously the bigger you are, the more the value is for your particular situation. How much are you spending on electricity? How much are you spending on heating? How much are you spending on transportation? Here's all the contact people that are available. Everyone is ready and willing and able to help out anybody, anytime. And I think one of the questions was, can anyone help developers interested in leasing roofs? It does apply to any commercial entity. Might apply to residential. Doug, do you know the answer to that? Can somebody who has a large residential property actually do a community solar project, or do they have to be a commercial account?
So we're doing community solar projects on large multifamily residential projects. We're doing one in Hastings as we speak. So yes, it's, and we view a large, multifamily as essentially a commercial, a commercial entity.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I think we are a little bit over actually on our time. So with that, John, I'm going to pass it back to you. If folks have any questions, here's the contact information again for all the folks that are here. So please feel free to reach out to any or all of us about particular pieces, or just come back next week for air source, the week after for ground source, the following week for solar, the week after that on electric vehicles, and at the end we'll be talking about clean energy investments and what you can do to make your values work for you and outperform other forms of investment as well. So John, thank you very much. John, are you back?
Ron, thank you very much. And I want to also thank the panel for the presentations today. Very informative and very important. As I said at the beginning of the program, the changing energy landscape in Westchester County is going to be a priority for the Business Council of Westchester. The services that you'll hear throughout the series of webinars that Ron Kamen, the founder and CEO of Clean Energy Thought Leader, Earthkind Energy Consulting, has put together will be helpful. I also want to remind everyone that the Business Council of Westchester will be holding our virtual energy conference on September 18th. It will be a 3-hour event with, again, speakers talking about the future of energy in Westchester County and how it will affect the business community, and more information about that will occur. For those of you who still have questions from today's panel, please send them to me at jravitz@thebcw.org, and I will make sure that we get them to the appropriate member of today's panel to get you the answer that you need. As we said at the beginning of the program today, this will be an ongoing series. Please continue to go to our website at the www.thebcw.org and go to our resource center to get that schedule, as well as this today's presentation will also, the recording will be on that resource center portion of our website. So for all of us, the Business Council of Westchester, thank you again, Ron. Thank you to our panelists. Thank you to our sponsors, Earthkind Energy and Atlantic Westchester, NYSERDA, and Sunrise Solar. We look forward to continuing this conversation next week. Again, we hope everyone remains safe, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. Thanks to all the panelists, all the sponsors, and thank you for showing up, folks. Have a great day and week. Hope to see you next week, and apply to the sweepstakes if you're interested in figuring out how to save some money. Thank you very much.